Hello, and welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today, as always. And thank you to my subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, do so now. Hit that like button and the notification bell. And we will begin with, but first, the weather here today is sunny and beautiful. It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and spring is on the way. Thank God. Okay, I'm not much of a winter guy, but I've been here all my life and I've kind of gotten used to it. Except for 6 years, I lived in Latin America where it was up at altitude and it was called the land of eternal spring. That was nice, but I did miss the changing of the seasons. Okay, enough of that history lesson. Today's topic is going to be TV, movie, and Disney love. I was thinking about that the other day. Where did we get, well, let me back up. I'm 61 years old. And looking back over my life, I've been married 4 times, had quite a few long-term relationships, a lot of one-night stands. I've been with a lot of women, okay? And I'll be honest with you, all my life pretty well, I believed in that romantic love. Although I didn't really pursue it, well, maybe I did in my early 20s, but it just never seemed to pan out. That romantic love that is portrayed on TV and the love stories where the woman just loves the man and they live happily ever after. I never really did believe in happily ever after, but I did believe and buy into the concept of this romantic love idea. And now that's really strange when you think about it, because until about 100 or 150 years ago, people didn't marry for love. They married for practical reasons. This idea of romantic love started during, I think, the Renaissance period, and then it became more of a used way to marry, or a reason for marriage, or portrayed as a reason to marry about 150 years ago, at least here in the U.S. People before then married for practical reasons. They looked for a man, and the man looked for a woman that could provide him with children, be a good housewife, and take care of things. And of course, they were physically attracted also. But this romantic love is really somewhat of a ridiculous idea when you consider that this infatuation period, or this romantic love, is short-lived. It lasts maybe 6 months or a year. And then I say the real love begins. The kind of love when maybe you're sick and your wife's sick, but you're sicker than she is, but she gets up and takes care of you. She doesn't feel like taking care of you, nor does she feel like taking care of the kids. But she does it day in, day out, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Now, because it's a duty. What is it? Beauty is duty. I heard that the other day, and I thought that was really good, because beauty wears thin. A woman's beauty only lasts from about the time she's 15 to 25, and then at 25 it starts to fade, the outer beauty. If she is not beautiful on the inside, or if she is not a woman of character and integrity, that beauty fades pretty quick. And I'm telling you, I've been with some really hot girls, some beautiful girls, and that wears thin. Now, if you're a guy who doesn't get laid much, or you don't have much sex, or maybe you've never had sex, you may find that hard to believe. I know when I was younger, there was a friend of mine that was married, and I thought, man, that's great. You get to be with her every night, whenever you want to. He said, well, it's not really like you think it is. But I couldn't understand that because I was a young boy, and at that time, maybe I had had sex with 1 or 2 girls. And boy, that was the thing, right? I thought that was great. But since then, I've been married for years at a time. I made it 12 years at one time. Now, I will say that in my later marriages, at least the last one, the sex was as good 10 years after, 9 years after, 11, 12 years after, as it was at first. There were times when maybe it became somewhat boring. I don't know if boring is the word. How do I say familiar? But it was different because I had opened myself up to this girl. I won't say that I made myself vulnerable as they use the word nowadays, but I was more able to connect with her when we were in the act of intimacy physically, as where when I was younger, when I was having sex with one girl, I was already thinking about the girl it was more of a conquest type thing. So now the bad side of that is when we split up, it was very painful because I actually, how do I say, I somewhat bonded with this girl, or we connected on a physical, mental, and spiritual plane, or at least I connected with her because I opened myself. I allowed myself to be open for that. So the sexual experience was very gratifying, fulfilling, and intense, I must say. But the romantic love idea is really a fallacy, at least in my opinion, because it does exist, but it's really about, when you get right down to it, a woman is going to marry you now let's say this, she may marry you because she's infatuated with you, but a woman is going to stay with you out of a sense of, maybe out of a sense of duty, which doesn't exist much anymore, at least in the Western world. But she's going to stay with you because you have the ability to provide and protect her, to provide for her and her children and protect her. Now, she's going to be loyal to you if you have the ability to maintain a somewhat of what they call alpha status, for lack of a better term, a status of having options, a status of she knows that you could get someone somewhere else, a status of she is not the most important thing in your life, or should I say a state of mind. Actually, a state of mind. That is a state of mind you must maintain. That if something happens to her, or if she leaves you, she dies, she gets in an accident, you're going to be okay. You're not going to, you'd be sad to see her go. It'll be difficult, but you're going to be fine. You'll go on and find another woman, life goes on, etc. Now, if you tell a woman that, and I have told them that because they've asked me, well, you wouldn't care if I died or not. I'd say, well, of course I care, but I'll be okay. They don't like that. They act like they don't like that, but in reality, that is what they want in a man. They want to know that no matter what happens to her or one of your kids or your family, that you are the mountain. You are strong enough that you're going to go on. Yes, it may be difficult, but you're going to make it. And when she's with a man like that, she feels safe and secure. Although she might act like she's pissed off that you would be fine without her, that's really how she wants you to be. She does not want you to pedestalize her to the point as if something happened to her, or if she got sick, or if she left you, or if she died, that your life would fall apart and you would crumble. Because if she wants to bear children for you, she has to know that if she died during childbirth, which has happened throughout, doesn't happen as much now, at least in the Western world, but it used to happen a lot, that kid was going to be taken care of by you. You as the man have to be the rock, you have to be the mountain. And that's why I tend to disagree with this modern generation. Every generation changes. They probably said that about us, maybe some stuff. That you got to be vulnerable. You need to open up to your girl. You need to share your feelings, that you guys need to be partners, that you are equal. Now, I believe we're all equal in the eyes of God, or whatever you choose to believe in. But as far as equal being the same, because the word equal means the same, like 2 is equal to 2. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 1 and 1 are equal numbers. They're the same. Okay, guess what? I'm not the same as a woman, and she's not the same. A woman is not the same as me. We are not the same. We are different. There are contrasting differences for you people that believe that we're all the same. Okay, we're not the same. We never will be the same. A woman will never have the emotional and physical strength and the ability and durability that a man has. Okay, and a man will never be able to have babies or nurture and care for children or breastfeed, who knows with modern science and technology, a child like a woman can. Now that doesn't make a man better or a woman less, or a man less or a woman better. It has nothing to do with that. We are different. Just like there's a difference between a Lamborghini and a Volkswagen. It's different. They're both cars, but they're different types of cars. So this equal is really I don't know who come up with that, but I strongly disagree with that. There is no equality in that respect. And then we could go on to the business deals and different things like that, and women want to be paid the same. And hey, I'm getting off on a rabbit trail, but I'll end it with this. If a woman does the same job that I do, we have a painting company. We do a lot of hard work, climbing, heavy lifting, different things like that. There's not too many women in my business. They don't want to do that. Few of them could do it. At the end of the day, when we have one of those jobs where we can't use a lift and we have to climb 40-foot ladders all day, extended all the way out, by 2:30, 3 o'clock, we're pretty wore out. Me at 61 and my kids at 18 to 21. Doesn't make any difference. Few women can do that. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, of course, but we're not talking about the exceptions in general. So we're not equal like that. And just as reverse, and I know I'm going on about this, a woman has the ability to stay in the house all day, to raise the kids, to listen to crying and screaming and hollering all day, and be patient and kind, and still pick up the kids and say, "It's okay, honey," when they fall down and skin their knee. As where a father might say, "I told you not to go down them steps anyway. You know, rough it up, tough it out, walk it off." We're just different, okay? So, back to romantic love. But we are raised with this fallacy that's just dressed up with Disney movies, and a good example is the guy, he chases the woman out onto the tarmac of the airplane after they broke up, and she finally decides she loves him, and they walk off in the sunset happily ever after they had been fighting. They always show the man, well, a lot of times they show the man supplicating to the woman, chasing her, just keeping after her till she finally gives in, and then she realizes that he's the man for her, and they're in love, and they get married or whatever, and they walk off into the sunset, as I said. Okay, now we all know that movies are not like real life, but yet we still are programmed, I know I had been, to believe that, and it's really a big disappointment for some men. I think they call it being red-pilled. I still want it to be that way, but I realize it's not. And looking back over my life, I realized that what worked the best with women was when, as I told you earlier, that I could replace them. Now, I may have loved them or desired them. I'm not really sure if I really loved them, because true love is, I'll give you an example of what I believe love is, as opposed to or in contrast to what they portray love in the movies, TV, and different things, sitcoms. Okay, one night, about 2 years ago, I went somewhere where there were a group of men, and I was pretty damn miserable. And someone suggested that they thought that these men might be able to help me. These men had wisdom, they'd been through a lot of difficulties in their life, and they'd overcome their challenges. So I was desperate. I was just miserable as hell. So I went there, and I sat there in that group, and I talked to those men, and they spoke to me. And after the meeting, it was in January, and it was cold as hell. Two of these men stood outside and talked to me for a half an hour, 45 minutes, and we were freezing. And they didn't want anything from me. Do you know what they wanted from me? They wanted to help me. They wanted to help me improve my life. And that was the first time that I consciously, well, I didn't recognize it at the time, but looking back in retrospect, to me, that was love. These men gave me and offered to show me a way of life where I could become successful, and they were willing to help me, and they wanted nothing in return. They knew, though, that what they would get in return was whatever they gave to me would come back to them multiplied sometime down the road, but they didn't expect it back from me. To me, that is love, and that's also love as being a verb, an action word. It was the action of them talking to me, listening to me, giving me their time. When you give someone your time, you're giving your life, because I don't care how much money you have, when it's time for you to go, and you're taking your last breath, you can't buy another one. Yeah, sure, you may be able to buy health care that makes you last a little longer, but what quality of life do you have? So they were taking the time out of their life, away from their families, to help me for free. So those guys were the first example for me that I consciously recognized that was love. So since then, I do the same for other people. And what I get back is tenfold what I give out. But at that time in my life, I had lived for myself, always what's in it for me, and if I did something for you, I expected something back from you, if nothing else, loyalty. So that's where I learned what love was, real love. And in a relationship, when you fall in love, when you have this enamorado, this Spanish infatuation, this feeling, it fades after a while. And then you have to take the action of loving your partner or your children. Do you think I always feel like I love my children? No, sometimes I'm angry at them. Sometimes they frustrate me. Sometimes it's relationships. But I know that I love them and I take the actions of loving them. And sometimes that's being rather strict with them. I won't go into detail, but we've had some challenging times here with the 5 teenage boys. And some of them are bigger than I am, so they can get pretty rough and they will challenge you. And if you don't maintain your kingship in your house, they will overthrow you. So there again, back to women. A woman cannot, some of these black women though, they're pretty damn tough. They can run the house. But white women, more often than not, get run over by their teenage sons. So that's a whole nother video. So this romantic love, this idea of love and destiny and all this on TV and movies that they show is just not reality. And even myself, though I know it, I still want it to be true. But I recognize that it's not. It's more of a practical thing. And nowadays we see the result of this with these marriages. 70% of marriages divorces are initiated by the woman. Because women tend to live more in their feelings. So what happens, they get married, all of a sudden the fairy tale idea dies down, and they don't feel like they're in love with their husband. And nobody's ever taught them the difference between the feeling of love, the emotion of love, and what love actually is. Love is this. If I go out here right now and my neighbor's laying on the ground down there, I'm going to go down and help him up. Well, actually, one time I came by and the lady down the street, she's a really old woman. She likes to get out there in her garden, and she got stuck on the ground. She's got some, Alzheimer's. I'm not sure what it is, but she couldn't get up. So I had to help her get into her house. It was very difficult. I got her in there, okay? I don't know her. I don't expect anything from her, okay? And it's happened to her again, and my boys had to go down there and help her up. We don't want anything from her, but that's love. It's no feeling to that. It's helping your neighbor. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Now, if we get back to that, you have to love yourself first. Learn to love yourself. Learn to have a relationship with yourself. Because guess what? You're going to be with you for the rest of your life. So you better enjoy yourself. You should be, it should be when you're home, you should be at home alone with your best friend. You should be in good company, okay? So learn to love yourself. And then you can love others. But remember, as I said, I never got to the movie part, but movies, TV, that is not reality. If it were, we wouldn't pay money to watch it. We wouldn't watch it. It would be boring, because a lot of times life can be boring. Well, I really very seldom ever get bored. My life is pretty exciting, sometimes more so than I desire or that I thought I desired. But we wouldn't go to a movie to watch real life. Even the reality shows are played up. So try to understand that these movies and these books and these things which have been, let's say, put upon you or introduced to you do not portray what real life and real relationships are like. Now, that doesn't mean that they're bad. They're not. I liked being married. I enjoyed the company of my wife and the family. I really liked that. But what happened in my situation was I became complacent. I wasn't leading very well, and they thought that things looked more exciting out there. So me as the provider and the protector, which there again, We're told by society, the media, TV, movies that a good man is the man who goes to work every day, comes home every night, he doesn't run around, he doesn't do this, he's a good, steady man, which I was. But I'm going to tell you something, few women are attracted to that physically. And women, as I said, are emotional, and they want a man who they're not sure if they got him completely or not. Now, we think we have to give them security, and the more security we give them, the more love, attention we give them, they're going to love us back. It doesn't work that way with women. They're just different. Women do not respond to affection and attention the way your friends may. Hey, brother, I love you. Hey, you need some money? Here you go. You got a brother, not your brother biological, but a friend, a good. He calls you in the middle of the night and he needs your help, you're there. Okay? Now, a woman, if she knows you're at her beck and call, she will not respect you. Try it. See if that doesn't work. But a man, I have friends I could call right now and say, man, I need you here now. And if it were any way possible, unless they were like halfway across the country, they would come right now. And I would do the same for them. Now, women are different. Few women will do that. You may find a couple that does, but they're just not the same. They don't look at loyalty the same as you and I do. Men think differently. And they're, again, back to this equalism. We're not equal in that respect either. We have different thought patterns. What a woman considers to be honesty, you and I as a man would consider dishonesty. A woman may tell you, I've never cheated on you. But of course she had sex one weekend when she was out with her girlfriends in Vegas. But she got drunk and it didn't mean anything. So in her mind, she really wasn't being disloyal or she didn't cheat on you because it didn't mean anything. I'll give you a small example. I had broken up with this girl and we were talking by text and she was wanting me to help her out. I said, look, I'm not your man anymore. I said, you've been out with other men, you're sleeping with other men. I'm not going to help you. And she says, I haven't been with anybody since you and I broke up. I think she had told me she was with one person, but she said, I haven't been with anybody other than that guy, something like that. Okay, and then it was probably a month or two later, I went to see her, and she told me that she had been with someone. I said, well, you lied to me then. And she said, no, that was text message. She said, I'm telling you now, so you can't, it's different when I send text messages. I'm not lying to you. I didn't lie to you. I'm telling you now, so it makes it, makes it honest. But in her mind, she really believed that because she sent it by a text message, it didn't have the validity of her telling me in person. But she actually accidentally told me in person. But I really believe, and I've seen this before, she didn't think that was lying. So women have a different conception of what honesty is than men do. Once again, it goes back to men and women are different. They think on two different planes, two completely different planes or levels, if you like. So that's something to remember whenever you're trying to logically convince your woman or a woman of something. Using logic with a woman is like beating your head against the wall, wondering why you're getting a headache. Never argue with a woman. They will try to draw you in. They will bait you. But when you argue with a woman, you have allowed her to move you emotionally. You have allowed her to destabilize you. And women will do this, these shit tests, to see how strong you are. Can they depend on you if things get tough? If she can shake you up with every little shit test, guess what? She's not going to be too dependent or too attracted to you or have too much trust in you. And if she doesn't trust you, she's not going to want to be with you sexually. A woman has to trust you. Not so much that you're telling her the truth. I'm not talking about that. She has to trust you to be strong so that when she's with you, she's safe. Nobody can move you. You're the rock, you're the mountain. And as long as you stay safe, you're strong, and she's with you, guess what? She's safe too. Because women can't protect themselves in general. Most women are smaller. They just don't have the physical body strength. Even an MMA fighter, UFC, or a boxer, a woman boxer, matched up against a man the same weight, doesn't have much of a chance. Who was it? The tennis player, the #1 tennis player. She was a big woman, an African-American woman. They put her up, she was the best in the world. They put her up against the ranked number 100 man in the world in tennis, and he beat her. So that's just the way it is. And these men or women, these women, no, the men that are having sex changes are competing as women now and just destroying the women, breaking new records, which I don't think that's fair. But there again, it just goes to show you that they're physically stronger. Men are physically stronger. So anyway, that's all I got for today. I'm going to stop there. If you'd like to get my help personally, my website is marksinspiration.com. I'll put the link in the description. My email is marksinspirationalguidance@gmail.com. Had to think about that for a minute. If you think this would be of value to a friend, share that with them. I'm going to go. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me. See you later.